and Selena with Loving Superfoods, and we're going to demonstrate a new recipe I've been playing with. I'm calling it now the Green Machine Macaroons. They're really good. I basically took a really sweet macaroon recipe and then we made it more green and more protein, so it ends up being more like an energy bite.
But still just as delicious.
Yeah, just as delicious. So, and we're actually going to play with it a little bit as we go. We've been adjusting. This might be the final recipe. If it is, you'll see a link to the actual details. So, we're going to start with a cup of coconut flakes. Selena's going to do all the prep work just so you can see how easy this is. We've got a bowl and some stuff to put in the bowl. And these are coconut flakes. They're organic shredded coconut flakes that I got from our natural grocery store. You can probably find them online too. These are a little thicker. I really like, there's a macaroon cut that's really good, but anything that's kind of fine like this, you don't want the really wide coconut flakes because that would taste weird. All right, and then you're going to do a half cup that's split between almond flour or almond meal, which I also got at the natural grocery store, and the Sun Warrior protein powder. In the original, if you want like a sweet treat macaroon, then you just use all almond flour. You could make your own if you wanted to by taking some almonds and grinding them up in your food processor before it gets like too buttery, before it turns into a butter. It won't be as fine as this as you can get from a grocery store, and it's like one more step. I like being able to buy it. You could also use any other kind of flour, or you could use coconut flour. We also did a version that was all Sun Warrior protein powder, and it tasted good, but it's really drying, and it was really strong protein taste. So we're dividing it in half this time. You could also use mesquite powder, but frankly that's really strong. We're just going to use a little bit of the mesquite. So she's got about a half a cup that's split between almond flour and the Sun Warrior protein powder. Now I'm going to add the greens in. So you're going to do a tablespoon, actually, sorry, before you do that, do the mesquite before our tablespoon turns green. And the mesquite is really mineralizing, and it also has a really nice cinnamon chai taste. So more than anything I'm putting in here because it tastes good. But I like that cinnamon chai flavor without adding cinnamon itself. All right, there's a tablespoon of mesquite, and now a tablespoon of Vita-Mineral Green. So we're just adding all our powdered stuff first. And I love this Vita-Mineral Green. Watch your measurement there.
Thank you.
This Vita-Mineral Green is a really awesome blend of a bunch of different greens. It's got seaweeds and grasses and probiotics and enzymes and lots and lots and lots of superfood greens, and it doesn't taste bad. It tastes pretty good actually. Here's our spirulina. Spirulina, it depends on the spirulina you get. It may taste a little fishy. The one we carry I really like. It doesn't taste fishy at all, but it's a really, really dark green, so I like to kind of mix it up, do half Vita-Mineral Green and half spirulina. But the spirulina has a really nice earthy taste to it too. All right, and then now for a little seasoning. No treat of ours would be complete without the vanilla, the ground vanilla. So we're going to put a teaspoon of that in. And do not use vanilla extract. If you don't get ground vanilla or ground vanilla bean, just don't even bother. The vanilla extract just does not taste nearly as good as this. And the ground vanilla bean, the inside of the vanilla bean is actually really, really good for you. It helps to balance the sugars, so it's easy for your body to digest them. And it's a little bit of an aphrodisiac, so it gives you that kind of like blissful, oh, everything is better in my world kind of feel. Yum. And then a pinch of salt, which basically ends up being a dash.
Like
Ta-da! Yep. Just enough to bring out the flavors. And then we're still out of vanilla agave nectar. I'm so sad. So we're using honey. But honey is just as good, as just a little more awkward to pour. And you're just going to mix that in. I'm sorry, I should have told you to mix the powders together a little bit. But we'll still make it work. It's so easy that even if you forget to mix the powders together, it'll still work.
Stuff is
I
sticky.
know. It's just not quite the same as vanilla agave.
It's not.
Vanilla agave nectar you can pour out of a bottle. It's so much easier and lower glycemic than honey. But we cut the recipe down to a 1/4 cup. You might be able to cut it down even more too if you don't like things very sweet, then do even less. And if you want to cut it out entirely, then you're just going to use more oil. Like we're going to use cacao butter to hold this together. You could use more oil. Great. Use your spoon over there.
Okay.
Don't bother cleaning your finger because you're going to get it dirty soon.
Okay.
Start to mix. And I'll bring over the cacao butter. So this is my handy little, I think this is an egg poacher that I use to melt cacao butter. So it's got a spot in the bottom for some water and then the container where an egg would go. And I just put the hard cacao butter. Oops. So here's the hard cacao butter. And I just shave that off and put some in where the egg poacher would go. Egg would go in a poacher. You can also just shave the cacao butter off and put it in a jar in a pan that's full of water or partly full of water. It acts like a double boiler. And you just want to melt it enough that it's liquid. You can also use coconut oil, but the value of using cacao butter is that it hardens at room temperature. So we're going to refrigerate these and then they can stay out at room temperature and travel a lot better than a version made with coconut oil would. And it's just as good for you as coconut oil. Okay, we'll start with 2 tablespoons.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah, go for it. Just get your hands in there and have fun. And I might add more cacao butter if we need it, because that sunware protein powder really likes to soak up the liquids. We'll see if we need it or not.
That's the best part.
I know, that's the most fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy and you get to play with your food. That's looking pretty good. Is it sticking together pretty good?
Seems like
I
it.
think just a teensy tiny bit more. So the cacao butter, I'm going to do about, that looks like 2.5 tablespoons. Let's see how that goes. Cacao butter remyelinates your nerve endings. So it makes it faster thinking response times and kind of a smoother experience of life. Like it reduces your tensions.
So,
Coconut oil does that too.
is it possible to put too much in here?
Yeah, if you get too much oil in, then it's gonna be greasy, and then when you roll it into balls, you'll have some of the oil actually leak out. And you can even taste it with the cacao butter in here. You'll have a little bit of a kind of a greasy outside to the macaroon, but I kind of like that. To me, that's part of being a macaroon.
Is there much difference in flavor between the coconut oil and the macaroon butter? Or not the macaroon
The
butter?
cacao butter and the macaroon butter. The cacao butter, I think, has a little bit of a cacao taste to it. It's not very strong. The coconut oil has a little bit of a coconut taste to it. Again, not very strong. Really, I think the difference between them is more whether you need the treat to be able to hold its shape at room temperature.
Gotcha.
And the cacao butter will after it's been refrigerated. The coconut oil will, but not for as long.
Better for travels.
Yeah, way better for travels.
Cool.
All right. Again, don't bother washing your hands because we're going to make balls. So to make a ball, to make a little macaroon ball, you take a pinch in whatever size ball you want. And then you notice I just kind of grabbed some and then I start squeezing it together in my hand so it starts to form into a clump. I can even use my other fingers to mash it together. And this is where you get a sense of if you have the right consistency. If it's not holding together when you're doing this, add a little more oil. But it looks like it's just right. And once you've got it kind of together enough that it feels kind of solid, then you gently roll it between your palms to form it into a ball. And if you don't have the patience for this, I will promise you it's okay to have clumps. The first few years that I started eating raw, all of my ball recipes were just blobs. And they still tasted just fine. So it's really more kind of a holding it together over the long term and having it look pretty. There's a taste aspect. You know, like eating a ball is tastier than eating a blob. Very nice. All right, so we're gonna roll these into balls, and then once we've got them all set on the plate, we'll put it in the fridge, or if you really want them quick, you put them in the freezer. And we'll put them in the fridge. We can just keep them in the fridge for as long as we want. If you want it to last longer, keep it in the fridge. But frankly, these go really quick.
True.
We eat them. Like we might have to come up with a doubled version of this recipe because they go so fast. But once they've been refrigerated for say probably half an hour would be enough for the cacao butter to set. Then you can put them in a container and you can keep them out on the counter and eat them straight out of there. If you have room in the fridge, it's nice to keep them in the fridge just because the oils, they they last longer in the fridge. But I mean, in a week's time, you wouldn't notice. So put them wherever you're gonna eat them. Really, that's what it comes down to. You know what? The other thing we need to do is we need to taste our recipe.
I agree.
Yeah, let's just have a little.
Do they have to go in the fridge?
No, absolutely not.
That's just so that
cook's
whole-
prerogative. You know, you get to taste as you go.
All right, love it. Taste my blob.
Mm-hmm.
We done good.
I think that might be the winner. Has a little bit of the protein taste at the end, but not real strong. Like the one when we did it before, it was all protein. It was really drying. You know, I have to taste this again. Yeah. Just let me. I feel like wine tasting. Like, let me take another little taste and tell you what it really tastes like.
I love that it's sweet, but it's not too sweet. It's like just the right amount.
You know, like it's sweet at the beginning. Oh my gosh, these are so good. And they really, to me, they feel like we started working out more in preparation for our superfood challenge. And the protein in this and the long-lasting, the medium chain fatty acids in the coconut and in the cacao butter oil really give you that kind of endurance energy. So it's like really filling, satisfying, and long-term energy. That little bit of sweetness to kick it up a notch as you're just getting started. Yep, good snacks.
Very good.
All right, we'll post the recipe. Stay tuned.